Hello YouTube artists, I'm Kelly Hernig and welcome to In the Studio. Today I want to share these 3 garden books and the sketchbooks they have inspired. They each have unique properties and have inspired me in different ways, and I can't wait to share that. So we're going to start with Flowers of Provence. Flowers of Provence is the second book by Jamie Beck. I absolutely love her photography, and you'll see why. Are you ready? I'm going to just do a quick flip through. I mean, look at these flowers. She's got landscapes of France. Beautiful scenery. Look at those shots. But it is the flower imagery in here. Now, I just want you to take this one page. Let me bring it close. What palette is that inspiring? Can you see the really deep red here, the little oranges, the yellows, this little bright green. Look at this dark green here. I just love looking at photos to see what kind of palette they include. They are all different in here. Look at this landscape. Isn't that soft and just muted and beautiful colors? I want to be walking down that road. Look at the poppies, gorgeous. Rose petals or peony petals. Another beautiful landscape. To me, this book is just dreamy. It's full of different kind of emotions. Like this one is a little bit of sadness because the flowers are kind of dying. They're on their way out. Here's some broken petals, but I love the coloration here. I mean, look at these purples, how muted they are and how gray almost they look. So if you were to do a palette of that, what would your palette look like? You know, you'd have to have kind of a bright lilac color, but then you would also have to have a grayed one or tone it down. And look at this green. It's an interesting blue green, not a bright green, but yet look at the stems in their fullest highlight there. They've got a really nice gray tone. So I really, really love something like this for pulling palettes. The book is really compact, a lot of pictures, a lot of beautiful imagery. I mean, look at that. But I want to show you how I've used it. So I'm going to flip to this page because this has been my last page that I worked on in the sketchbook. Here's the sketchbook that I'm using for this. It's a See What I've Brightened Octopus sketchbook. It's 5.8 by 8.3 inches. And this is what an octopus sketchbook means. So you have a page that unfolds. See, it's almost like an arm there. So you've got 3 little panels here, but then you've got 3 on the back side as well. So let me show you what these studies have looked like. So this page here was my inspiration. And when I'm looking at this, I like to write down 3 keywords, mood, and then what treasure I find. So this one I named Summer's Bounty because it is summer colors, but it's about cantaloupe and fruit and different flowers. My keywords for this were colorful, earthy, and inviting. My mood, a gathering to feast. The treasure, the tangle of buds just waiting to bloom, the tower of stacked seeds inside the cantaloupe. So I want you to look at these seeds. Aren't they cool? I just like the way that they're kind of layered all in there. And here's the blooms waiting to, or the buds waiting to bloom. So here's how I've done this in my sketchbook. So I write the 3 items here, but the first page of my octopus arm, right? It's a palette that I've chosen. I choose 5 colors that kind of I want to work with out of here because you might be drawn to purples or pinks where I'm really not. I'm drawn to more of the oranges and the yellows and the greens. And that's the beauty of this book is there's so many different ways to explore it. So then I pick my 5 colors and then I kind of do a color match here on exploring what colors they will make out of this palette to give me nice deep darks, different kind of greens, that kind of thing. And then I open it up and I write my 3 things that I was looking for. I do a little sketch of the page just in pencil, especially the area that I'm drawn to. So remember, I was drawn to this with these little buds here. So that is my little pencil drawing there of that. You can see the cantaloupe seeds, there's the buds. The other reason that I do this is this book has no page number, so I can't say like refer to page 76. This allows me to remember what it looked like. So then I take some little pictures here. And I've applied a piece of vintage paper because I wanted to explore what watercolors does on vintage paper versus this kind of sea white paper. Now the sea white paper is more like mixed media, but it handles watercolor beautifully. I really like the quality of the paper. I also experimented with vertical items for this sketchbook. I wanted to do long skinny things instead of the traditional full out. And I've done an entire video about this sketchbook, and I will link all of the videos below for my 3 sketchbooks. From there, you can see I did the stacked seeds. I did the buds that I liked. I also like the little tangled of color there. So you see how this area here, see that tangled stem where the pear is and all these leaves? I just really liked that it almost seemed abstract. You really had to come close to see what that was. So I was really inspired by the color merging there, and that's what I explored. And then this here is the little area here with the little blooming buds. So you can see I've gotten a lot out of that one page, and it's let me explore different techniques that I might not have done before. So it's making me think about how would I do that? How would I relate it to the page? How would I get that where the seeds look stacked up? But yet I wanted kind of to look abstract and not have a lot of definition. So this whole sketchbook, I've got 2 more pages to do, but so far it's been filling up with all of these beautiful pages. So that was my inspiration for the Flowers of Provence. The next book is Color In and Out of the Garden. I've done 2 videos on this book inspired by this sketchbook. I started showing you how I did the sketchbook, which was just coming up with little palettes, but then I also showed you finishing up the sketchbook. So I will list those 2 videos in the description box as well. But I want to share this book. This lady is Lorene Edwards Faulkner, and she is on Instagram. That's how I found this book and her. I was following her because of the idea of doing 9 color squares and something from the garden. I just love inspiration like that. And it takes you out of your comfort zone because you're studying just one thing. And how often do we just take one thing and really look at it up close and personal? I'm going to do a flip through her book, and you can see, isn't it just gorgeous? Just pulling the one thing and then finding all the colors. Look, it's 3 of the same leaves, just at different stages during the fall. She's got them according to colors. It is really lovely. To me, I could take this and just be inspired every day, every single day. I just love the idea of that. I mean, look at the softness of this yellow, but then you've got that deep center, which is here. Isn't that pretty? So every page is something really beautiful and different and very inspiring. Look at that color range. I just think it's gorgeous. Look at that tulip. See how she's picked that little dark line here and went really deep. She's got another part of it over here where she's gone a little, let the orange and the red kind of play a little. I love the stem colors here. I like the lighter colors that she sees within the flower and the stem here. She's got this kind of orange, and up here it kind of turns to this color. I really, really like that. So this is what I mean by finding inspiration in different things that you don't normally look at. Like I have never really taken a flower and looked at it this intensely before. Look at that. Pomegranate seeds. I love that. And look at the different variety of red she's got there. So if you're looking for something really, really special where you could just take one page, you could actually just paint this from there and study colors and mixing and getting values and how to make them work together. I think that that's really, really a great flower or a great study. She's got different colors in here about what do you see. She talks about color palettes. She talks about creating what is inspiring you. You know, if you live by the sea, think about going and collecting shells every day and bringing them home. I find that so gorgeous. Look at those purples and the grays. I really love that one. So lovely. And so her practice was bringing the actual item in and then creating a palette around it. I took it a little differently in my sketchbook. I brought a leaf in, but then I painted the leaf on the page and then I did the palette around it. So there's another tiny leaf. I actually have some things in here as well. Here's a Kokeshi doll that I found. Isn't he charming? But I loved creating the color palette around him as well. Do not limit your imagination. It just doesn't have to be about flowers of the garden, right? Think about doing vegetables or fruits or things you collect or things you find. Go for a walk every day and just whatever catches your eye, bring it home, whether it's a rock or a feather or a butterfly wing. It just doesn't matter. What matters is that it inspires you to paint. That is what each of these books have done for me, is they've made me study them. I've enjoyed working inside my books for months at a time because it gives me a little bit of a focus, and that's important for my art, inspiration, and creativity. So let me show you the third book here. This is the Little Flower Recipe Book. And I absolutely fell in love with the size of her things. I mean, this is her hand. So look how tiny that pot is. And then think about how small those flowers are inside of the little vessel there. It's a beautiful book. She talks about how to make these little bouquets. Talks about choosing her vessels. I mean, look at the range of size. So you can see they're all pretty small. I love that. She talks about arranging and things like that. But each picture in here is just gorgeous. And I bought it to help me try to start painting a little bit of florals. I don't paint a lot of flowers, but I do paint a lot of natures. But I was totally intrigued by the size of these things and the complexity. I mean, look at that tiny vessel, but then look at all the texture this photograph offers you. You see, look at the center of that flower. Look at the shape of these flowers. Look at the little buds here. Look at this beautiful little flower. Look at just the complexity of textures there and colors. I mean, look at this palette. You've got this chartreuse green. You've got this real pale apricot. You've got this really deep burgundy red. You've got this pale pink here. I just love something like this. And her book is just full of tiny little ideas on how to make bouquets. And then on the page next to it, and most of these, she puts what is included in there. So these little berries are actually kumquats. And I like that because I try to then find what is in my yard, and that's how I showcase it. And I'll show you that in my sketchbook. But you can see they're just so charming. I just love thinking that they're this big. I love that. Gorgeous color palette. That really reminds me of winter. And so just think about this. She's done this in yellow, but change that yellow to red. Wouldn't that be a beautiful winter piece to paint? I think it would make a beautiful Christmas card. And again, here's her hand. So look how small actually these things are. I mean, oh my gosh, look at that. adorable. The pictures are really beautiful. I love the ideas and how to make it. Look at that, a branch with mushrooms and fern leaves. So think about making these red mushrooms instead of the pale yellow fern leaves. Do them in green. That could be very winter right now as well. Love that. Changing the color palette. Look at all those colors there. So let me show you what I've done here. This I worked in a little handmade sketchbook. And I created the picture in the book, but then I pulled out what I actually have in my yard. So this is the picture that I created, and then this is the bleeding hearts that I have. In fact, they're right outside my studio window. So I wanted to connect with something in here, and that's why I pulled out something very simple, but yet something that I know I have in my yard. I've painted a couple of these with you on my YouTube channel. I will link those below as well. But you can see here I just let the page fill it up. And I'm loving playing with values, playing with different colors that I wouldn't put together. That is where I find her book invaluable, because it's forcing me to play with colors, not just all muted or more vibrant, but it's allowing me to mix and match and change them if I want. I mean, I didn't have the actual blue that the vase was, but I have an indigo on my palette, so I used the indigo there. I didn't have a bright pink, so mine is more of a purple pink because that's what I had on my palette. So finding a way to create and be inspired by books and using them for your everyday resource to sketch from and be inspired by. I can't think of anything better for an artist than the gift of creation. I have enjoyed these 3 books for months on end, and I wanted to share the inspiration they've offered with all of you. So if you were inspired by today's video, please like, comment, or subscribe. As always, thanks for watching.